Hello everyone, Missy here again today, and we will be writing algebraic expressions for today's lesson. So moving forward into our agenda, we have materials, joke of the day, and objectives. So I'm going to start on the objectives section. So it's going to be, I can use variables to write an expression. So by the end of the lesson today, we'll be able to use those variables to write an expression of our own and answering some expression questions with variables. And then moving on to the materials, paper and pencil, again, are always the best for math. In case you made mistakes, you can erase it. But if not, if you had anything to write with and write on, that works perfectly fine. Or if you wanted to follow along on an electronic device, anything works as long as you're participating and learning and understanding the content. And then moving on to the joke of the day, it's going to be, what is a math teacher's favorite snake? So if you guys wanted to pause here for about 2 minutes to get those materials to start the lesson, and if you already have some materials, just think about the joke. I like to always, again, get my brain started thinking about something related to math, and the joke of the day is always something fun that we can do together. All right, so again, the joke of the day was, what is a math teacher's favorite snake? And the answer is a python. So the answer, we have the word P-I, and then thon. So then Pi, again, we know stands for pi. And then in math, we know pi is 3.14, commonly used, but it is an infinite number that we use and going to be what we have today. And then we know that's the favorite snake because there is a snake called a python, super long, very, very long and thick. So moving forward, we have vocabulary. So we're going to review this vocabulary for today because it's going to be very useful and when writing expressions. So we will be using these terms. I will be referring to these. So again, always reviewing these would never hurt. And you will be using these terms in today's lesson as well. So the first vocabulary review word is going to be variables. So it is a symbol that represents a number we do not know yet, can be seen as X, Y, Z. It could be used and seen as any letter of the alphabet generally, but we know that the X, Y, Z are the most common that we see in math. So if you wanted to use any letter, that works as just fine. And then our next word is going to be term. So each expression is made up of terms. So if we go down to the bottom of the slide, we do have an example there. So under terms, we have 4x, 7, and 5. So shown in the example there, we have 4, x, 7, and 5 in the equation, and those are our terms. So then we have factors. So factors is one part of the product. So again, if we look back down at the slide, the factors are going to be 4 and the x. So that's going to be the coefficient and the variable. And then the coefficient is a number used to multiply by the variable. So if we go back down to the example, we have 4 as the coefficient, and then x as the variable. So usually we plug in what the variable will be to get that answer. So we multiply those together. And then the operator is a symbol such as plus, minus, multiply, and divide that shows on an operation. So in the example, our operator is going to be a subtraction. So it's going to be 4x minus 7, but we can see it as a plus sign, multiplying or dividing. But for today's lesson, we will be focusing on the plus and the minus signs for our operator. So moving forward into our start thinking section, these are going to help you guys start a little bit of what's going to happen in today's lesson. So it gets us thinking and has a little bit of review for us before we move into a little bit more complicated math questions. So the first question is, how would you show a plus 1 and 1 plus a using a diagram? So we can show that any way you'd like. I'm going to use a graph to show mine, or a diagram to show mine. So any way that you guys want to show yours would work out just fine, as long as you do the a plus 1 and the 1 plus a. Second being write 2 more than 4 as an expression. So again, going back to the vocabulary section, we can use the words coefficient, variable, and constant shown, and then we can represent those with those numbers. And then the last one being James has 2 apples. Ryan has 2 more apples than James. How many apples does Ryan have? So I will let you guys pause here for about 5 minutes to go over and review those on your own, and then we will come back together and I will review those answers with you. All right, I hope that was enough time for you guys. If not, that's okay. I'm just going to review this with you, and then we will move into something a little bit more difficult. So for the first question in our start thinking, how would you show a plus 1 and 1 plus a using a diagram? So I use this graph here, and on the top I showed a plus 1, and then I have the 2 bars next to each other indicating which one's a, which one's 1, and then the bottom one indicates for us which one is 1 and which one is a. So if you guys wanted to use something different to represent this, you could, but this is the way that I represented it, which is the easiest for me to understand. So then moving on to our next question in our start thinking, it was write 2 more than 4 as an expression. So we know that when we see the word more than, that indicates we will be adding. So in this instance, we will be adding 2 plus 4, and then that will give us the answer of 6. So the expression was 2 plus 4 because there's 2 more than 4, so then the answer was 6. So 2 more than 4 equals 6. We can check that by doing 6 minus 2, which gives us the answer of 4 as well. So always best if you guys want to go back and check your work, because sometimes math, you can be working so fast that you may have like skipped over a step or something, and then you may end up with the wrong answer. So I always love to go back and check my work. Moving on to our last start thinking question, it was James has 2 apples, Ryan has 2 more apples than James. How many apples does Ryan have? So again, we have that same more than word, which indicates we will be adding. So we know that James has 2 apples, Ryan has 2 more than James. So then we have 2 plus 2, which gives us 4 apples. So Ryan has 4 apples because he has 2 more than James, and James has 2. So I hope that made sense for you guys. That's a little bit of what we're doing today. That's just going to be our starter, and then we'll be moving into something a little bit more difficult. So in that, we have our go further section. I know it's a little bit lengthy, but I will read through this with you and then allow time for you guys to do it on your own, and then I'll come back with the answer like always. So the question is, Kendall has 5 more candies than Isabella. So what we will be answering is the first one being write an expression to represent the amount of candies Isabella has. Use K to represent the number of candies Kendall has. And then next is write an expression to represent the number of candies Kendall has. Use I to represent the number of candies Isabella has. And then the last one being, if Isabella has 3 candies, how many does Kendall have? So in order to answer the last question, again, I would make sure you guys understand number 1 and 2, because that's how we will be getting the answer for number 3. And then always refer back to the top where it says Kendall has 5 more candies than Isabella. So if you guys could stop here for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then you guys can try that on your own. It's okay if you guys don't get it right away, or if you don't understand it, I will go over it with you, and then we will have another one after. All right, so I hope that was enough time. If not, that's okay. I will be going over it with you. So Kendall has 5 more candies than Isabella. And then we are going to write an expression to represent the amount of candies Isabella has. Use K to represent the number of candies Kendall has. So we know that Kendall has 5 more than Isabella. So whatever Isabella has is going to be 5 less than Kendall. And then we are using K to represent the number of candies Kendall has. So Kendall will always have 5 more. So that's why in this we have K minus 5 as the expression, because whatever Kendall has, she's going to have 5 more than Isabella. So when we subtract Kendall's by 5, that will give us the answer for Isabella. And then now we have write an expression to represent the number of candies Kendall has, and then use I to represent the number of candies Isabella has. So then Isabella will always have 5 less than Kendall. Kendall will always have 5 more than Isabella. So whatever Isabella has, we have to add 5 to give us the answer for Kendall. So that's that answer for the expression. And then if Isabella has 3 candies, how many does Kendall have? So we know that if Isabella has 3, how many does Kendall have? So then if we go back to number 2, we wrote the expression to represent the number of candies Kendall has. So we know that expression is going to be I plus 5. So we will be using I plus 5 as our expression for number 3. So if Isabella has 3 candies, so we know that we are going to be plugging in 3 for I because she has 3 candies, and then our expression we're using is the I plus 5. So then we plug in 3 for I, which gives us 3 plus 5, and then we know that answer is going to be 8, which means Kendall has a total of 8 candies. So it might be a little bit confusing explaining it. It is really important that we write it both ways, so we know that the K minus 5 means that Isabella will always have 5 less than Kendall, and then the I plus 5 will show that Kendall will always have 5 more than Isabella. So then when we plug those in, that made it easier for us to see how many candies were shown. So then if we wanted to go back and check your answer, like I said, that was super, super important. If I subtracted 8 minus 3, so if I subtracted Kendall's 8 candies minus Isabella's 3 candies, that gives me the answer of 5. And then again, if I refer back to the very, very top, Kendall has 5 more candies than Isabella. So we know that the answer is correct. So Kendall ends up with 8 candies. So I have this try it on your own question as well, very, very similar to the one prior to this one. It is a little bit different. Instead of candies, we're using teeth for this. So if you like lost your tooth, you know, older brother, little brother, I don't know, it just came to my head for this one. So the original statement is Kevin lost 3 more teeth than his brother Liam. And then for question 1, we will be answering the question, write an expression to represent the amount of teeth Liam lost. Use K to represent the number of teeth Kevin lost. And then number 2 is write an expression to represent the number of teeth Kevin lost. Use L to represent the number of teeth Liam lost. And then if Kevin lost 5 teeth, how many teeth has Liam lost? So again, like I said, very similar to the one before this, use writing the expression for Kevin and writing the expression for Liam, knowing that Kevin will always have 3 more teeth than his brother is very important because once we have those, it will help us again with answering number 3. So if you guys could stop here for again about 5 to 6 minutes. That would be great, and then we'll come back with the answer. Try to do this one as much as you can. If you need a little bit more time than 6 minutes, that's okay too. I want you guys to try to do this one completely on your own if possible. All right, so I hope you guys all got those And it was very similar again to the last one. So if you understood the last one, this one should have been just fine for you. So I'm going to read them over again. Kevin lost 3 more teeth than his brother Liam. So first, we're going to write an expression to represent the number of teeth Liam lost. Use K to represent the number of teeth Kevin lost. So we are going to use K to represent Kevin, and he always will lose 3 more teeth than his brother. So we know that his brother will have 3 less teeth than him. So the expression will be K minus 3 will give us the answer for Liam, which is perfect because Kevin always has 3 more. Just like the candies, Kendall will always have 3 more. So that works out the same. And then write an expression to represent the number of teeth Kevin lost. Use L to represent the number of teeth Liam lost. So again, we know Kevin will always have 3 more teeth than his brother, Liam. So then Liam will be represented as L plus 3 because Kevin has 3 more, and then that will give us the answer of the amount of teeth that Kevin had lost. So now that we have those 2 expressions, we can use that to help us, answer the question for number 3. So if Kevin lost 5 teeth, how many teeth has Liam lost? So if we know Kevin lost 5 teeth, how many teeth has Liam lost? So that one will refer back to question 1 and using that expression. So we know that Liam will always have 3, I don't know what happened, sorry. Liam will always have 3 less than his brother, so we're going to use the expression K minus 3. And then we know that Kevin has lost 5 teeth. So then we are going to know that K is going to equal 5. So when we plug in 5 for K, that gives us the expression of 5 minus 3, and that equals 2. So Liam has only lost 2 teeth because his brother had lost 5, and his brother has lost his brother has lost 3 more than him. So again, it can be a little bit confusing, but I hope you guys understand using both expressions will give you the same kind of answer because it will always help you know the minus and then the plus version of each expression. So moving on, again, we have the extra practice. I love this one, the expressions basketball one. It will take you to this page, and then you start here, and then they give you the expression y plus 5 equals, and then evaluate the expression when y is 8. So we're going to plug in 8 for y. When we plug in 8 for y, that gives us 13. And then when you make it, you earn 10 points. So I'm going to do another one. And then we have y minus 8 equals, and then you evaluate the expression when y is 8. So we plug in 8 for y. That gives me the answer of 0. So perfect, I made 2. It shows me that my score is 20. So this next one, I'm going to purposely get it wrong to show you what happens if you guys get it wrong. So y minus 1 equals, evaluate the expression when y equals 8. So when I plug in 8 for y, that's going to give me the answer of 7 because 8 minus 1 equals 7. But again, I'm going to show you what happens if you possibly get it wrong. So let's just say 0. So when you get it wrong, unfortunately, you lose 10 points, but you can always continue, earn those points back, no problem. So if we go back to our PowerPoint here, we have our last thing on our slide, which is going to be our objective again. So I can use variables to write an expression. So that's exactly what we did. We used these variables here to represent our expression. So you guys, we did those together. I did them for you, and you did them on your own. So you use the variables to write an expression, and then you use those variables to actually solve the answer. So you want a little step more than what we have on our objective, but that's great because then we know that we can write variables in an expression and use those variables to find the answers to solve. So perfect, you guys did great. And then we will come back again with something next time. Thank you.